hear from the keynote session for the day on insights into the digital transformation journey. To give us these insights, I invite Mr. B Vijay Kumar, IBM Fellow and Global CTO, Hybrid Cloud Services, IBM, onto the stage. A loud round of applause, please.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me? Clear? Good. So, yeah, very interesting session. I've been with IBM for 27 years. And I've gone through, I would say, 3 stages of my career, right? 3 transformations I have gone through internally. What we used to, we started off with what we call digitalization, right? So where, the idea was to move away from paper, create RDBMS databases, build client server systems where you can do simple queries, get the records, happy with it, right? Then came the second, which we call the modernization or digital modernization, or where we started saying, hey, you know what? I have started creating so many databases. There is so much of data there. How do I use this data, leverage the data, and build insights around it? Bring AI into it. And obviously there was a convergence. Machine learning was coming together. Then we talked about digital, data integration. So we had a whole host of products which was bringing all the data together, a single pane of glass where you can do data analytics. We moved into OLTP to OLAP, right? And we started building ETLs and data mining and data. Now, digital transformation is not just a technological transformation, right? In my opinion, that is the third phase of my career. Digital transformation is really a business plus techno transformation, where we have a company who doesn't own a single car running the largest network of cabs. Can you guess who that is? They don't own a single car, but they are running the complete transportation. Uber, right? Google, which is a technology company, right? Known for searches, right? What are they doing? They have transformed the complete landscape of the business, right? So what is really happening here is digital transformation is what is happening, where people are thinking, like I was with Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz traditionally used to say, hey, I build cars, right? I need to look at how the car can be efficient, how can I fuel efficiency. Those are the conversations we used to have in that room, right? Mostly manufacturing related, what is my tier 1, tier 2. But now they are saying, hey, how can I sell my data? How can I open up my data to the insurance companies and telemetry? How there is so much of telematics. There is data pretty much everywhere. Now, how do I use that data and turn into a company which rents car? So now they are started competing. If you go to Germany, there is a model called Car2Go, where they are competing with Ubers, right? They are competing with intermodal transfer kind of a business model, where they are formed an ecosystem. So basically, digital transformation shouldn't be just looked as a technological transformation. It is technology enabled or technology driven business transformation, right? So that's the biggest learning I have. And these are some very, very clear examples, and Avik, I think, covered, I love that first slide where he showed how India has transformed, right? How many of us really go to a bank now, right? How many of us really worry about, doing anything in a physical way? Pretty much everything is available on our mobile phones. But having said that, there are a lot of things in terms of expectations. The Gen Z pretty much is born with this in their mind. Their experience, the customer experience that they have is they expect everything to be on the mobile, right? So just tell your kids, or maybe a teenage kid saying, oh, you need to go stand in a line to get cash. So, I mean, they are so used to Google Pay. What do you mean cash, right? So half of them don't even know what you mean by cash, paying by cash and things like that, right? So having said that, there is a lot of things that are kind of hurdles for digital transformation. I'll start with the problems. Very bad way to start a day is talking about the problems, but I hope I'll talk about some of the solutions also, and which we are working on, and some of my experiences working with large clients, right? So frauds, mobile frauds, right? There is so much of WhatsApp frauds, Facebook frauds happening, all the way people trying to take over money from you with Google Pay. I don't know how many of you have been a victim. I was almost a victim, and luckily I kind of thought, why is this guy asking me to do this particular link or scan or things like that? So, but there are a lot of people who fall prey for these things. So with all this cashless thing and with so much of digital, the frauds and security and cyber security becomes a bigger challenge, right? The very important thing is in terms of the crime rates, the digital crime rates have gone crazy, and with GenAI now, with all deep fakes coming in, there's a whole host of new things which are popping up, which we'll talk about. On the other hand, if you look at the large enterprises, digital transformation is happening. I did not even meet a single client who says, oh, I don't want to move to cloud. Oh, I don't want digital, right? It's a given, right? I mean, 6 years back, people were all scared. Even banks never wanted to get to the cloud kind of a journey. With hybrid cloud architectures and security coming in, now they are kind of buying into moving into the cloud, right? Now, the big challenge we have is, see, cloud is enabling it, and GenAI, we believe, as IBM, will accelerate it to a totally different level, right? And I'll talk about, and it is moving so fast. I mean, pretty much every week I hear there is a LLM, there is a domain-specific model which does better than what it was last week. The adoption rate of GenAI is like Google Pay or is like UPI, right? So whether it is a hype or not, the success and failure of a technology you can see by the adoption rate. How many of you have used ChatGPT? How many of you are really writing emails with Copilot now, right? If you are using Teams or if you are using Outlook, right? So we are now taken that as an autocomplete kind of a feature. When we write a mail, we copy paste and say, hey, check my grammar or summarize this, and it does a very good job. Even LinkedIn posts are auto-generated nowadays, right? So if Avik does a good job, it automatically suggests great job. I just click that button. I don't write it anymore. Whether I mean it or not, it's a different thing, right? So if it's Avik, I don't mean it anyway, right? So yeah, so that is where it is all going. Pretty much GenAI is becoming our assistants. They have become, they are reading our mind literally, and understanding the context much better and suggesting ideas much faster, right? So what does it mean? If you look at, there are numbers which I had to hide. It was there in the previous slide. Don't share that. I was warned not to share that. But if I remember it right, around 40 plus clients, large clients, these are clients like, very, very huge enterprises, failed in their digital journey because of cloud architectures, right? And they moved to the cloud. Everything is running on cloud, but they are spending more money on cloud than what they used to in the data centers. That's because they just did a lift and shift of their hybrid workloads, right? There was no clear hybrid cloud strategy. People, somebody wanted it in Google Cloud, somebody wanted it in AWS, somebody wanted it in some other cloud. So there was no very thought through process in terms of, hey, what is my cloud strategy look like? What is my underlying manage from control plane going to look like? How am I going to manage the workloads on the cloud? People have put the things on cloud without FinOps, if you have heard the word, right? Without even having a tracking of what workload is running where. Because see, cloud is utility computing. It's like you switch on the lights, you walk away out of the room, you are charged for how much time you have used the light, right? It's like that, right? So you have to be very careful. So more and more we are moving towards the right side, what we call hybrid by design, where if you look at very clearly, there is a underlying layer. So we are working with our clients, and we burnt our own fingers. I mean, we were one of those people who said, oh, we screwed up, right? I mean, we should have thought about this as a platform-centric approach. We should have had a platform, and the core of the platform you can see is data. So there has to be a very clear data sharing and governance platform. Very clear thing is governance, right? So all data is not good. So what, how do you know which data is good, which data is bad? Because now data is the resource that you are using to take insights, business insights. So how do you know that this is the right data? And more as you move towards GenAI, GenAI is a devil, right? So you train it with bad data, it becomes devil. You train it with good data, it's God, right? So that's how it is, right? And it is self-supervised, if you know what I mean, right? So it learns by itself. It's not like you sit and you tag, oh, this is good, this is bad, and all that. So it's very important for you to have a very clear data sharing and governance. And I think that's where Aerospike is going towards. I was talking to Avik and I was pretty impressed with the strategy, right? And more importantly, the management layer. So how do you manage your workloads? Do you have a single pane of glass of how these workloads are running? Where is what data stored with all the data residency requirements, data privacy requirements, all of that coming in? It becomes very, very important at scale. You need to have this level of visibility, right? Now, I don't have to do this. I think most of you are from, this background. But if you look at it, pretty much, the landscape has changed. What is key is, as we move towards GenAI, we talk about foundation models. We started off by saying, hey, here is, 8 billion or, going on 32 billion, 60 billion. So all of a sudden we said, wait a minute, do I really need a model which can speak everything, which can do everything? All enterprises are taking a back step, because the bigger the model, the more GPUs you need even for simple inferences, right? So do I really need to manage this level of model? Do I need really like a GPT which does everything from writing songs to essay writes to solving big problems and composing emails and everything? Or should I focus more and more on foundation models where I build the domain specific models? I don't know how many of you have heard of Doberman or Instruct Lab or things like that, right? So we are working now more and more towards building domain specific models, where I take a foundation model which has the basic skills built into it, and then take customer specific data. If the customer specific data is not good enough, we are synthesizing data with GenAI. We are generating data with GenAI, and then using that data to again train models. If you look at it, the data landscape there, right? In terms of you have real-time data pipelines coming in. You need this data synthesis happening, and in data synthesis, how are you taking care of the edge cases and identifying, the right data is being synthesized, and then you are then using that to train your model, and how real-time is the foundation model and your domain-specific model. So this becomes your MLOps pipeline of future, right? So it's not just the ETL from OLTP to OLAP, but you're talking about, streams coming in one place, you have social media data coming through one place, then you have transactional data coming through, then you have NoSQLs coming in. So how do you manage that whole thing has become a key thing, and that goes back to that blue layer that I was talking about. How do you manage that whole data layer, right? And I have a double click of that data layer, how it looks in future. Again, I think pretty much you would have heard of all these use cases, right? But my favorite use cases where we see real value coming out of AI plus GenAI, right? Is customer service, right? Pretty much all large clients are replacing their L1, or people who pick up the phone, or the bots, or the email responders, right? The first responders is kind of replaced with GenAI models in the back end, and they are doing pretty well, right? And there are products which are coming out and which do this complete workflow of handling a customer in their own language, very contextual, right? Understanding the sentiment of the customer, right? Really understanding to a level where you know where the customer is sarcastic or is he really appreciative, right? So that is really happening now. With normal NLP, it did not happen, but with GenAI powered NLP, it is much more contextual, right? So there are a lot of areas there like call center analytics, knowledge management, email, anything to do with a lot of data, lot of, text, the text analytics, it's amazing, right? Now, the other use cases is, I'm working with a bank in India where it went through all their audit documents, and now this model has become like an auditor, right? When somebody writes an audit report, it reads the audit report and says, hey, you have not used the right language. And it is fed with all the government compliance language, legal language documents, so that it is now able to tell or guide the auditor to write better audit reports, because anything wrong in audit reports will have legal problems. More importantly, it will have goodwill, right? And it will create a lot of compliance issues, right? So those are some use cases that we have worked on related to that, regulatory changes. How do you manage the regulatory changes and all that? And looking at the day in a life, how many of you use for code generation now? Any show of hands? Yeah. How many use to summarize the code? How many of you use, how many of you use to generate unit test cases? Right? So this has become like, part of your Visual Studio Code, right? I mean, everything is, you right click and say, hey, generate something and things like that. So pretty much it's become a autocomplete of your code on steroids, right? And of course, SecOps is a very big area where anomaly detection, how do you detect anomalies? Because you have so much of data on your service now, on your knowledge database. When an incident happens in the production, how do you pick that up? And this is where that real-time thing becomes very important. How that data streams in, and how do you predict a failure or identify a solution to the problem and maybe fix the problem in future, right? Rather than somebody trying to fix it. So those are all some use cases. I'll not go through in detail in the interest of time. So mainly, if you look at it, the day in a life, we were doing ad hoc GenAI, but we are moving more and more towards a platform-centric approach. And one of the key things, if you look at the GenAI platform, and I'll double-click on that for your, so one on the right side is the ecosystem, right? So everybody is going multi-modal, right? Not multimodal, right? Multi-modal means, oh, I'm okay to embrace GPT, I'm okay to embrace Titan from AWS, I like Granite from IBM for this use cases. So pretty much they want a multi-cloud, multi-model kind of approach. Second key thing, if you look at it, is there is a lot of ecosystem around it. If you go to Hugging Face, there are so many models, and the pedigree of how the model got trained becomes very critical as you move towards enterprise. Just for your experiments, you can use whatever is available on Hugging Face, download it, try it out. But when you go to an enterprise and when you are using a model for audit reasons, for ethical reasons, the enterprise has the responsibility to learn what is the pedigree, in the sense, how was this model trained, what data was used to train, can I use this model, or will it be infringement, right? I don't know, have you played around Suno, S-O-S-U-N-O? With the prompt, it generates a full pop song, which is ready for you to publish on Spotify. It is that good. If you have not done it, do it in the evening, right? That will be more fun. And there is another platform called Udio, right? So what they did is they took all the source from Britney Spears albums and all the albums, they fed it, and they created a model which is now generating songs. Now there's a legal problem there. Okay, now it is generating a new song like Michael Jackson, let's say. Should Michael Jackson get revenue through this? Because the original training data came from Michael, right? So nobody knows the answer yet. It is still being fought in terms of, but these guys are arguing, yeah, I mean, it learned from this, doesn't mean even I can learn from Michael Jackson, try to sing like Michael Jackson, doesn't mean I have to pay Michael Jackson, right? So that's the kind of argument they're getting into. So that is fine for a use case where you are doing songs, but that's not fine for banks. Banks don't want to get into that kind of a problem. Same thing is with any other serious, government companies and all that. So the platform is the central piece which kind of brings all of that. And the core of that platform is data, data governance, and data management, right? Um, Moving on, so one is the technology. The other piece is, if you look at it, I mean, everybody started experimenting with AI, GenAI, all that is good. But what you need is a framework where you need to have a strategy, a roadmap in terms of, hey, when do you use what model? How do you restrict? You don't want your employees to be uploading documents, confidential documents into ChatGPT, right, getting exposed, right? So when do you use what model? What is your overall architecture look like? What is your current state and how do you formulate? And then what is your technology look like? What is your process in terms of how do you collaborate? And more importantly, there is a complete reskilling that's going to happen on how you use GenAI in your day in your life. What you can do, what you're not supposed to do, what is a new way of what we call in IBM BCG, I think you know, right? So it's a compliance, right? It's a employee compliance, what you should be doing. Like for example, somebody raised a hand, oh, I generate code. So, but what model do you use to generate code? Because that code is eventually ending up in a client premise, right? And is client comfortable to have code generated by some model from somewhere, right? So, and then more importantly, the ethical and legal board becomes very, very critical. That's a new job offer for lot of us. We don't know what skills are required there, but it's a techno legal people who know what is right, what is wrong in the world of AI, right? And it's a totally different ball game. And on the technology side, if you look at it, there's a whole spectrum of things that we do, especially. See, AI was slightly simpler, right? You just had supervised, unsupervised, very, very clear. We got used to it, right? But if you go to GenAI, the spectrum is slightly wider, right? So given a use case, I could be doing, solving it with just simple prompt engineering, all the way to complicated prompt engineering like tree of thought, forest of thoughts, and things like that. Or I could be taking a model, fine-tuning the model. There are better ways to fine-tune the model, and then creating a new model altogether. Very rarely we go to the right extreme for solving a use case, but most of us, we kind of look at this spectrum. And if you look at this spectrum, again, I keep saying this, data becomes very critical, especially when you go more and more towards right, where you are giving a context to the model. The context decides the output, right? So the context should have the right data in place. So like for example, we use, if you take for example the RAG pattern, we use vector DB. Vector DB provides the context along with the prompt for you to give the exact result, right? The context becomes very, very critical. So that's why, you know, we keep talking about these things now. So model ops, how do you manage your model drifts? So model drifts is you built an application on a particular model, but the model moved on to a next version of it. Will the application still work on the new model, right? So how do you keep, so there is a release management, configuration management, a whole new set of processes which are coming in. Time's up, okay. Very quickly, this is how the reference architecture really looks like. So you have AI models, then you have data collection, preparation, and all that, which is feeding into the AI models. And then you have the capability and orchestration. Pretty much everybody is moving towards an agent-based solution where a chat-based solution is happening, right? And orchestration takes care of, you know, which interfaces to be called, which data source should be called, which model should be called, right? And all clients are moving in a very, very iterative way. So the key is to start with governance, understand what is your governance layer, and then slowly get into incubation, plan for scale. Most of the clients I work with are already around this place, already moving towards this place, but nobody has done it at the scale yet, right? Another representation of how the governance looks like, right? So you have the ecosystem, the whole ecosystem partners, and then you have a layer where you're setting up the infrastructure, So this is the overall infrastructure of your AI, Gen AI, and then you have the layer where you are doing the governance, and then you on the top you have the various Gen AI functions, right? So I leave these charts, right? And then the convergence of bits, neurons, and qubits. This is the next step. I'll leave you with one small video in the interest of time. So now we are very comfortable with bits and neurons, right? So neurons is all your neural network behind your Gen AI and AI, right? But with qubits kind of coming in, which is the quantum computing, where it kind of superpowers the neurons, right? And it's in the process, right? IBM is one of the leading companies spending a lot of money, crazy amount of money on quantum computing, and so that will change the game. While that changes the game, here is, for example, IBM Telenium, and Google has a similar technology which is coming up. You also have NVIDIA, which is investing a lot on building chips which are specialized to run AI and Gen AI specifically. So if you look at it, the training kind of cost goes down significantly, and AI becomes, I don't know if you have seen the Copilot PC. They have Microsoft has given the spec for Copilot PC, which basically says the new age PCs will run models, inferences completely on your laptop. They don't go to the cloud. Same thing is happening with your phones now, right? If you see the phones, Apple Intelligence, right, kind of runs completely on your device, and the quantum will take it to the next level, right, where it kind of splits across, and it goes to a different level. But quantum is not for everything. It is more a continuous computer, not a discrete computer. Like it's a big topic for us. But if you look at it, there are specific use cases where any use case where you have analog processing that you want to do, quantum is much better option than quantum. And if you look at AI simulations, all of them would fall under continuous computing or analog computing side, right? Quick use cases again. Sorry, I'm rushing through. There's so much material. I'll leave you with this. Thank you very much.
Introducing the IBM Quantum System 2, the building block of quantum-centric supercomputing. Quantum System 2 isn't just a standalone system. It was designed to be extensible, supporting up to 4,158 qubits with additional control racks added. It was also designed to be modular, so multiple Quantum System 2s can connect cryostats with long-range couplers connecting the processors, supporting up to 8,316 qubits, and with 3 System 2s, a remarkable 16,632 qubits. In a data center environment, classical or AI racks can be swapped out to extend the computational capacity of the system. We will be unveiling our first working system at the Quantum Summit in late 2023. Thank you.
So this is launched, and it's available on cloud. If you guys are interested, just go run some simulations on it. But I just wanted to leave you with the thought, not to sell IBM, but same thing is happening with Google. Everybody is investing there. So with that, thank you. I hope it was useful. I know I rushed through a lot of slides, but it's available for you.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay. Requesting you to please remain on stage. I would also like to call Mr. Avik on stage to hand over a token of appreciation to Mr. Vijay.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting into perspective the digital transformation journey that our country is witnessing in the enterprise space and various factors that have derailed it from reaching its true potential.